We're ready to go here, guys. We have a very special guest and group here. A group that's only been here once, and their leader's never before been to one of these. This is Hans Bodenhammer and the Bigfork High School Cave Club.
Today the students are going to present mostly on a program that we call eCave. But before they get started, I want to introduce everybody, and then you'll just have a quiz later on their name. Amazing. We got Ben Keller, Ryan Cantrell, Scott Jessup, Jimmy Abke, Joe Ben-Como, Shane Calbeck, and running the computer for us is Honor Lauren. This presentation really is more of an invitation than a presentation. And the inception for this really started with a conversation I had with an now famous wildlife biologist and caver, Ellen Wood. We were out mapping a cave on the Flathead Indian Reservation, and I was lamenting. I said, I was spending all this time monitoring, and it turns out that a lot of times the agencies ignore this stuff or lose it. And she looked at me and she said, I think you're wrong. I think there's going to be a time in the future when you look at this and it's going to be really important. But really, what's more important is if you're having your students and other cavers conduct this monitoring. It actually changes the way that they're looking at cave resources and our impacts, human impacts to cave resources, and how we can work better to preserve these resources. The students today are going to kind of review what they do to monitor caves in cave. Then they're going to show you a little bit about what we've been doing for years with the desktop version of the program, which most cavers don't have access to. And then they'll present the new program that's online that each of you have an opportunity to get into and enter data. Our first speaker is Scout.
All right. We like to say that our in-cave monitoring is simple but profound. We have 4 basic types of monitoring. There's climate, mineral, photo monitoring, and macrobiological. The most important tools for all our in-cave monitoring are a clipboard and pencil. For mineral monitoring, we describe the points in detailed quantitative terms. Mineral features such as stalactites, mineral coatings, and gypsum crust. We also locate the extent of the mineral deposits with areas or pollen. And to make it easier to fit on a map, we separate ceiling and wall features from floor features.
Here is what one of our point polymath mineral monitors looks like. This one was recopied from the actual one that we brought out of the cave. They come out of the cave all wrinkled and covered in mud. This is our standardized form for writing all the data we need. We also rate the fragility of minerals. For example, the draperies on the left are high on the ceiling, or they should be safe from accidental damage, so we say they're resistant. But because the visitors throwing rocks at them and breaking them, classify them as severely. The stalagmite on the right is low on the floor where it should be safe from impact, so we say fragile. And we see there's no human caused harm. We say no observed.
Photo monitoring is our most precise way to track changes to in-cave resources. In addition to a camera, clipboard, and pencil, we also use a compass to record which way we were facing when the photos were taken. This is a photo point map. Each point represents the physical location of the camera when the photos were captured. Here is a standardized photo monitoring form. We label the point number as well as give a short description and the azimuth so that we can better relocate these photos in the future. Relocating these photos gives us valuable insight into what happens in the cave when we aren't there. Here is Johan trying to relocate a photo taken in 1989.
Here are some examples that we can detect through repeated photo monitoring. So as you'll notice, in 1989, there's no mud on the stalagmite in the foreground, but in 2017, there's mud and other stuff.
Noticed that in 1989 there's drapery in the background there, and in 2017 it's just completely gone.
Climate monitoring is simply measuring temperatures and humidities throughout the cave. Climate within the cave should remain fairly constant. We also measure the roof side temperatures where bats hibernate. For our measurements, we use an excess psychrometer with an infrared thermometer, but you could use something much simpler. Here is a climate point map. Here is our standardized form for climate points. At each point, we measure the ceiling, floor, and air temperatures in addition to the relative humidity of the air.
Macrobiological monitoring means we're taking notes of biological features we can see without a microscope. Kind of like Johann on the left, and not like the ant on the right. Here is an example of our biological monitoring point polymer. Here is our standardized form for macrobiology. In addition to that description, we also estimate the distribution and density of the protein.
Here are a few examples of some of the macrobiological features we would record, such as a wood rat, a wood rat trail, a wood rat nest and its wall, some wolverine tracks made in the soft mud. This caver is standing on top of a 6-foot deep pile of wood rat droppings. And this is a huge cluster of harvestman spiders.
Here's a trout in a cave pool. Here's a bear at an entrance of the cave. We just barely went in the cave that day. Here are some scratches made by the bear, but in the same cave, just on a different day. Here are the remains of a different bear in a different cave, and a pile of bat droppings.
Here are a couple of hibernating Myotis bats. It turns out that our recordings of the bats and their locations in the cave will be very important when white nose syndrome arrives in Montana. Next, we are going to briefly show you how GIS works. GIS lets us take our muddy cave forms and put them into nice-looking maps so we can analyze the data we collected and make conservation recommendations. To do this, we are going to show you a live demo in ArcMap 10.5.
Here is the desktop version of ArcGIS. We are now going to show you an in-progress cave monitoring project of Mill Creek Crystal Cave. Here is the cave and some of its layers. We can turn these layers on and off. We can also zoom in and out. These are the parts of the cave for which we have established monitoring. Connor will now turn on the monitoring points and polys. For each set of points and polys, we have related data set in an attribute table. This data is incredibly helpful for finding important information and sorting it all out.
With data collected at each point, we can perform some simple analysis. For example, we can locate all hibernating bats, which will be shown with the color ginger. We can also look at other aspects of monitoring, such as the condition of ceiling minerals. So, the green poly right there, right, you can see them, will be shown, they show like the extent of the mineral deposit, and within each green point, there will be a point, and the point will show the mineral feature and the human damage to it. And we have like a scale that we rated on, where red means it's severely impacted, means it's heavily impacted, and yellow means it's lightly impacted, and green means there's no observable impact. ArcMap on desktop is a really cool program. We could show you lots of really cool stuff, but the problem is public schools get the program for free, and most cavers can't afford it. So it makes it difficult for us to take cavers out and monitor using GIS. So that's why we've created what we call an e-cave. An e-cave is an online version of GIS that anyone can access through the internet.
So this is your invite. This is your chance to be more directly involved with the making and showing of cave monitoring. And this is one of our prototypes. If you scroll down, you can see that we have some background on the cave, bat observations, climate points, photo monitoring, back guano observations, or minerals, and ceiling and wall minerals. If you scroll back up to the photo monitoring, you can see all the information and a picture by clicking on a point.
Any of us cavers can also add monitoring points for bat observations, photo monitoring, and climate monitoring by clicking either of the three links at the top. Or you can scroll to the specific page and there's a link provided there as well. The reason we make a lot of these interactive maps so that people without the same software can still do all of our work.
So now we're going to show you how it works for bat observations. So Ian, if you'd like to step over here with Connor, it'd be wonderful. So to begin, you first want to click on your bat observations for little eyes. There, you will be greeted with a paragraph of information for your benefit. Next, click on the edit tool, which is at the top left of the screen, which looks like a pencil. Then you want to click on the red dot or the bat points feature on the right side of the screen. That way you will be able to enter a point anywhere on the map. You will then be able to enter data in the specified field. So if you want to just enter random data. That's all right. Now, if you scroll down to the bat photos URL, we have a link that you can just paste in. And if you exit out of that menu and you click on the information tool, which is next to the edit tool, and you click on the same point you just placed, you get the information you entered. And if you click more info for bat photos, you get a picture.
eCave was a big project for us, but it was one we were ready for. Had bunches of challenges, but that was okay. We finished 14 eCaves so far, and we have 5 more in the works, all hopefully done before June.
That's pretty much the end of the presentation. One of the things we have to work out, and I think we're going to work it out with Ian, we need to figure out where we're going to house this so the papers can have access to it necessarily from the public. In closing, I just want to thank some of the people that really helped support the Team News project. Support service, program, all support service, Bryce, Maxwell, and Bakken, International Heritage Program, Lloyd Hanneska Brown, Wildlife Park, and of course, we do have one trip coming up where we're going to take some gifting, try to train a bunch of people on monitoring. So back to Mud Creek, getting back yet. It's interesting. But, that's it. Any questions? What is AGLO? Yes. If you are familiar with ArcGIS Online, you can make public data. What they call it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's an editable thing. So it allows for public data. So we just took one of their templates and made it so one of the challenges was using our base maps. Any other questions?
Up next, Hans is going to present on what a lot of people consider, what I consider the finest cave in all of Montana. It's the longest cave entirely in Montana. We've mapped over 10 miles. Mr. B is gonna give you all the details, but I don't know if you guys have got a chance. There's these maps right there, right here, right there, and it's Hans has been working really hard on these over the past several years, and it won an award. It won the award at the NSS convention 2018. Pretty much all the awards.
Told that kid to leave this computer on, and what did he do? Oh man, I gotta have these slides. So Ian said to me, I'd like you to present on the Silvertip map. I said, well, how do you present a map? The maps are there, you can see them, and that's the end of my presentation. Actually, I dug up a few slides that I thought might be appropriate, and they're from another presentation. But this is kind of cool. It's got a picture of some people climbing up the top of Silvertip. Absolutely beautiful if you haven't been there. Lake Lowry, 1,000-foot-long sludge through the water, commonly armpit deep, but in places much deeper. Two of my heroes, Jim Chester and Ron Zuber, the early 2000s on Silvertip, and our future. Part of our future, the VHS Cave Club. If you haven't been to Silvertip, this is an air view, kind of gives you an idea of what it's like. Silvertip Peak rises to almost 9,000 feet. This is Silvertip Peak. Here's Goat Mountain. Devonian limestone is where most of the caves are on Silvertip. This stuff swaps on up in that Cambrian limestone. See a picture of that in just a moment. This is between Goat Mountain and Silvertip Peak. Saddle there. Looking farther to the south, this would be Lone Butte, piece of Mississippian limestone. There's another karst field of Devonian limestone here. This is South Clerk. And Turtlehead for the crazy, intense people about there. Further down, there's another hunk of Devonian limestone. There's a ton of caves. Ian suggested a brief history of caving. We have changed a little bit. Caving in the Silvertip area started in the early 70s. This is a picture of this guy here. This is Mike McEachran. This one with the long hair, this is Mike McEachran. And this guy here is Mike McEachran. I sent a picture to Mike and I said, who are these people? And he never got back to me. So Mike was the first one there to really discover one of the big caves. He stumbled on the entrance to Bell Cave. Let me back up just a second. These guys were hard. Look at this. They're in street clothes going in these caves that are just bitter cold with all that silly water and stuff in there up at 7,000 feet. They did occasionally put on a wetsuit. This is, I think, Dino Lowry in what we later called Lowry Lake. They got carbides, so they got 2 carbides on in case something goes bad. That was through the 70s. In the 80s, some other crazies found their way up there. They gotten a little bit more sophisticated. They started wearing wetsuit tops and jeans. This is actually a skinny version of me. This is one of my good buddies, Doug Powell, standing at the entrance of Moonray Cave. This was before they invented mules. This pack weighed in at about 100 pounds. And, you know, we used to be really tall back in the 80s. This is what started. 1990s, a lot didn't happen. There were a few trips up there, but it started booming again in the 2000s when I met this crazy young fellow called Jason. And they discovered tears and all that. I said, I don't want to go there. I want to go back and remap Overtip. And he followed me there. So this is part of the crew, I think, at the entrance to Get Out. And that's Silvertip Peak in the background. This is try to say this right, a Google map showing the entrances to major caves on the system. This is the most dense population of cave entrances in the state. Just incredible up there. Little bit of time on this. This is a line plot. Most of all of this was mapped in the 70s. And then I think this might have been done in the 90s. And all this punky stuff over here we mostly did in the 80s. The guys had done most of the mapping in the 70s, but they never produced a map. It was just a line plot. And I just kind of loving to make maps, wanted to go in there and do that again. In the 2000s, really much all we added to the map are these black things, connecting the two systems, Silvertip system and Blood, taking it to about a 10-mile long system. This upcoming summer, the students, some of the students that just talked are going to go up there and actually do some monitoring work in Blood. And I got one last thing I'll try to zoom into. The challenges of mapping Silvertip and putting it on a map were that it's mazy at about lots of different places. So this is elevation tags. This is at 743 feet below the entrance. And then the stuff that's quite a bit lower is kind of faded out below. And when you get over here, you can see the stuff that's at 900 some feet below the entrance. If you've got good reading glasses, you can take another look at the map over there. This is the map that's at a different scale of what we've done in Blood last year. And this is a really nice looking profile. And that's all I want to say. Anybody got any questions?